Welcome to Website Critiques with Bryan and Chris. I'm Chris Bowman.
I'm Bryan Caparici.
And today we have a website actually provided to us by Katie. And we're going to dive in, take a look at her website, and tell her what we think.
Awesome. Homepage. What are your thoughts?
That slideshow.
The slideshow is too quick. That's my first comment.
Yeah.
This is, by the looks of it, this is a plugin, the slideshow plugin, because I've seen this before. And I know that on this particular plugin, you can configure your settings for it. So I would probably just suggest to Katie to have the images stay on the slideshow a little bit longer. I find 4 seconds, 5 seconds is enough. What are your thoughts?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, considering that there's no text, it's not like you're waiting for anybody to read anything, but still you want the impact of the image to help the website at least, right? Or help the user.
Yeah.
So, yeah, totally.
Another thought, like this is my own opinion, and Chris, tell me what you think, but I see a lot of photographers that will use this plugin and they'll keep the little bubbles at the bottom, the indexes of what image it's at, and they'll also keep the arrows. Now, in this particular case, Katie, you can't see the arrows on yours, so you might need to adjust your styling or the color that it's being used. I'm not sure if it's the icon missing or what it is, but I'm not convinced that it's valuable enough unless it's like a portfolio page where clients will want to click back and forth. If you want this to be like a hero section of your website and have it just scroll through as kind of like here's a quick summary of my work, I'm not convinced that you need to give an index of the images, which is these little bubbles down here, nor do you need to give the ability for them to go left and right. What are your thoughts?
Totally. Yeah. I would agree.
Cool.
It's more like it's definitely just that visual element, right? That's really what it's serving a purpose for. So yeah. What do you think about that blue? Or that, I guess it's not really a blue, but
yeah, it's like a aqua blue gray. It's nice. I think it's
Actually,
nice. It's
really
on brand.
nice.
I really like Katie's logo. Nice little subtle kind of heart there.
Mm-hmm.
Just a comment in general. Like I see a lot of photographers, and I'm not sure if it's WordPress or Squarespace that does this by default, but they always have the logo link back to the homepage. I'm not convinced it's useful because I'm already on the homepage and there's already a button that says home. For me, it's just something that could be like an accidental click. If you're somewhere else on the website and you accidentally click here, it like redirects you and you're like, I don't know what happened. So I might just get rid of that. What do you think? You don't care?
That's interesting. I've never heard someone say that before, but it's totally true. Like if you're already on the homepage, why would you click home?
Right.
Why would you click on the logo?
Right.
However, it is pretty standard practice to have the logo click to the homepage, but
standards.
Yeah, sorry. But just talking about that header, actually, as soon as you started scrolling, did you notice that?
I'm happy it
stayed there. Yeah,
yeah.
We looked at the website last week, and that was one of our suggestions, and I think it's the same suggestion again this week. Having that header up there, it is really nice to come down. And what I was talking about last week was the fact that it was a little too tall, where this one I think is the perfect height to keep it up there. I think it's perfect. The typography in the header is beautiful. I like how the fact that the page that you're on is muted because it's in white. I think that looks really good.
I want to talk about busyness in navigation, though, because I think this navigation, and I see this mistake on a lot of photographers' websites, where they have too many options in the menu. I think you easily could. Oh, and so there's even sub options. Okay, so I feel like there's too much up here, especially because she's also added all her social links and a search bar. I think you probably could have compressed some of that. I also have, now this is a very opinionated thought that I sometimes have on things. This is sort of like the buffet menu, the buffet bar approach to menu navigation, right? It's where it's kind of like, come here and click about at your will, and people are going to go and just click wherever they want to click. I believe it's our job as photographers, as entrepreneurs, if we're trying to sell something on the web, which is what your website is doing, you need to be guiding people through your website. And I think in this, it's funny because down here, Katie has the start here button. So she's kind of saying like, hey, like, here's, the starting point, like start here, let's kind of go. But then she also has other options over here. I kind of like the idea of sort of greeting someone to your website, grabbing them by the hand and saying, here, follow me, let me guide you. And by having this sort of buffet style approach where they can come in here and click whatever they want and go wherever they want, you're not really guiding them. I've seen when I've coached photographers, even by adding the number, like number 1, start here, number 2, about me, number 3, portfolio, like by just adding those numbers, I've watched web sessions, I've watched heat tracking, and I've watched sort of click traffic. People just all of a sudden start following the flow when you say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are your thoughts?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
You're guiding them on a process.
Yeah.
And I think time and time again, we've seen studies online that have shown the same kind of thing. You need to focus, and we stressed this last time too, you need to focus on that goal, which is getting the conversion out of your website, right? And you need to, like, really the story and the path to get there is really, really important, right? And just kind of talking to that whole, like, this approach where you're kind of saying, okay, like, if you want to start the story, here's the story. However, or here's the guided path. However, the problem is it doesn't look any more important than anything else. So it just literally gets washed in, and you're not telling the user, what should I be doing next? And I think that's really, really important. So having that, like, numbered step at the top, I think that's genius, because then it literally tells them what their next
here,
step
do
is.
this.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in photography, we know that we often want to have a single point of focus, right? We want to have, like, who's the subject and maybe who's, like, the secondary subject in a portrait. And I would say the same principle applies in visual design when it comes to your website. Right here, you've got 4 equally, or at least perceived equally important buttons to click. Which one's the more important one? We don't know. It's like, it's not obvious, right? So maybe, you know, having one that's like a sort of primary action, and then have other ones that are secondary and tertiary, maybe would be better. But just something like that kind of says, like, hey, this is what I've got for you. Click here. Or if you want to click these, maybe you can click these buttons as well.
Totally. And I don't think we're arguing either. The look, the visual style of these buttons are actually really, really pretty. And I think it does look really good, and it matches the colors and the brand and everything like that, and that's really cool. It's just, nothing's clear on what to do next, I think. So taking that same visual design element is fine, but repurposing it and doing something else with it would make more sense.
Do you have a concern at all from a visual standpoint in having the white in these bleed to the background? The white in this bleed to the background? For me, it looks like this is kind of a floating button with dots that are randomly cut off. This button's kind of floating off to the side, and it creates this weird alignment between button 2 and button 3. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it definitely breaks some alignment rules, and also breaks some repetition rules. Totally, yeah, because, I mean, it doesn't feel like things are aligning over here. These circles are kind of broken, and there's too much space and stuff. So it doesn't lead the eye the way that you'd want to, right? Repetition's really, really important, where, you know, our brain automatically wants to look for patterns and stuff. So this is kind of breaking that. So yeah, definitely. Visually, it looks pretty, but I don't think it's definitely as effective as it could be.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's all that we have for this Instagram TV website critique episode. Come and join us on the next episode, which is going to be immediately available for part 2 of Katie's website, where Chris and I are going to start diving into some of the other pages on the website, but also we're going to dive into some tips and tactics and tricks on how to have better call to action buttons on your website.